Okay, well, hi, welcome everyone. Thanks so much for joining us here today. We're on the second day of Construction Month, so let's celebrate everyone here that's making our industry stronger, more inclusive, and resilient. BCCA greatly acknowledges that we live, work, and play on the unceded, traditional, and ancestral homelands of hundreds of Indigenous peoples and nations across British Columbia, each with their own unique traditions, history, and culture. I'm speaking to you today from the traditional territories of the Lekwungen-speaking people, the Songhees and Esquimalt First Nations. I'd like to welcome everyone here. I'd like also to let you know that this session will be recorded and that we will have a chance for discussion in the second half of the webinar. So I encourage everyone to use the chat if you have questions, and we can address them towards the end. I've put one question into the chat, and I've also pinned it. So you can have an opportunity to consider this question of what skills and qualities are necessary to develop in order to stay resilient and contribute to the future success of BC's construction industry. Myself, I am Crystal. I'm the Team Lead Mentorship Program Advisor with the Building Builders Program. I have been with the program since 2022, and I have a BA and an MA in sociology. I dabble in the film industry, and I enjoy hiking, swimming, and paddleboarding. I'm also joined today by our co-facilitator, Mindy.
Hi, so I am Mindy. I've been working with BCCA since about 2012 on different workforce development programs. I'm also a career and lifestyle counselor. I'm a former amateur boxer, boxing coach into health and fitness. And and mentors, you are welcome to share some personal interesting facts about yourselves too. And yeah, I'm excited to be here today. And one of my favorite things about our program, that my favorite part of about our program and as a career counselor, is I absolutely love helping our mentees feel like they have a place in the construction industry. A lot of them come to us with some employment challenges or career development challenges, and they kind of feel like they're an outsider in the industry trying to figure out where they fit in. And a lot of them leave our program and leave events like this feeling like they are a part of the construction community, which I think is pretty cool. I actually am going to just take a moment to let a bunch of people in who just showed up. So, Crystal, do you want to just mention why we call this a fireside chat for any of our ESL folks or anybody who's not familiar with the term?
Yeah, absolutely. So what do we mean by fireside chat? It's an informal conversational style discussion with mentors. We have some moderated questions that will help us guide the conversation. It'll be an opportunity for us to share professional anecdotes, insights, or lessons learned from careers in construction, and provide an opportunity for the audience to ask questions towards the end and to get the inside scoop on the industry, also to build connections with the Building Builders mentoring community. So I'll just get started here. I'd like to introduce our mentors on the panel today, Cal Duncan, Court Forsyth, and Ramon Mendoza Novello, pardon me. I'll let them have the opportunity to introduce themselves, but I'd like to start off by asking a question to Cal. Could you please describe a little bit about yourself, where you're located, and the question I'll ask is, how did you begin your career in construction, and what inspired you to choose this industry? Did you have a mentor at any point who supported you along the way?
Hi, I'm Cal Duncan. I identify as a Métis. I've got a pretty cool Canadian history thing to share, is that Louis Riel and Louis Riel's mom and my grandmother were sisters. And so I have a direct connection to Louis Riel, which I'm pretty proud of. We moved out. Most of my aunts and uncles were all carpenters. There was a bunch of things like that. And my dad broke tradition and became a pipe fitter. So he had me actually helping him do side jobs when I was about 12 years old, shining fittings and stuff like that. And he was supposed to be babysitting. So I sort of had a niche into the trades at an early age. And I really wanted to become a carpenter, but back in the 80s, things were a little bit slow. So we were unable to really just jump into the trade that I wanted to. But being my father was a plumber and pipe fitter, I ended up becoming a local 170 member. So at the age of 17, right out of high school, I started my trade, uh, gaining experience in commercial and industrial. Dad wanted me to become actually a plumber first before a pipe fitter because the plumber was able to do all the pipe fitting. Pipe fitter wasn't allowed to do the plumbing at that time. So it was actually, uh, it's been really rewarding for me. Um, Ironically, as of August 22nd, it'll be my 45th year in the trades, or starting my 45th year. So I'm very eager
Wow.
to be going for 50 years in the trade. Um, Along the way, I've learned concrete placement and finishing. I've got a sheet metal background as well, being that I took my trade in plumbing and heating. When I ended up getting a job actually at BC Rail, and my mentor and my journeyman, he said, you need to take that job at BC Rail because it's a government paid job and it's a great opportunity. They've got a great pension and stuff. So I unfortunately, not unfortunately, I guess I left the railway or left the construction industry and I went to work at BC Rail, which in turn opened up the doors like incredible. I ended up getting my HVAC ticket, my crane operator's license, uh, continued on with my carpentry skills that I'd learned throughout the trades, which my skill set opened up everything. I'm sort of like a millwright of construction people with a 13-ton crane operator's license, high voltage when I worked at the railway. So I was a catenary licensee. They got them from A to E, and I was a B maintainer. So I was able to do all the grounding, layout, all the things, play with the hot stick. So very cool situation for me. And then after I left the railway, I in turn come back to construction, and I worked with IDL for quite a few years. We went from about 10 of us to about 2,500 of us in the province. And that really opened up my civil background. And so I've had an illustrious career that I can't say enough for. I've done everything in residential, commercial, and industrial, from mining, oil and gas, forestry, construction, institutional, building schools, hospitals, uh, pharmaceutical buildings. It's been an incredible career, and I really, really pushed the careers. And my weak point is I'm so passionate, and I love the opportunity to share it back and give back to the community. I've had my own business. My wife told me that back it was about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, I was a thriving business guy. And she said, you should think about coming home. You've been away for 19 months. And I said, yeah, but you don't understand the thrill of a $250 million dollar job. And you've got 300 people working underneath you, and you're eat, sleeping, and working, and the adrenaline rush of everything that goes on. It's such a great feeling. So that'd be one of the things that I'd like to share with people. Even though you love your job, don't forget to relax and enjoy your family.
That's such a good
That's it.
point. And uh
Sorry.
that kind of leads into the next little sub question was, did you want to kind of share just a point to the mentees in the house of just the kind of thing that you can learn from a mentor that you couldn't just learn online in a blog post or in a book or in a classroom? Like the kind of thing that they should be thinking that they could learn from a mentor?
Um, I think one of the most crucial skills that you can't be taught in the classroom, or situational awareness, is you can't discuss hazards, examine them, study them, the safety protocols, but nothing truly prepares you for real life world exposure. And one of those situations is a very emotional time in my life. Uh, Early in my career, I worked on a pulp mill expansion here in Prince George. We started at the same time, a carpenter and I, and over the months we became great friends. And while I was installing water lines and sewer lines, he was working high above building the digester. We'd see each other, you wave as he's climbing up, and you know where each other are working. And this one day I watched in horror as he fell. And sorry, he plummeted to the ground like an autumn leaf, but at a devastating speed. And he picked up a piece of plywood, unaware that it was covering a hole. And he stepped forward, and in an instant he disappeared, and he struck the ground below, impaled by 6 or 7 pieces of rebar, which the journeyman carpenter didn't really know where he disappeared to until that situation had taken place. And we were called over right away to cut him free. My first welder that I was working with, we were unable to do that. It was a pretty horrific situation. And we did eventually get him to cut off the rebar and cold cut it. But that moment is etched in my memory forever. So it's something I share all the time. And it's really a tragic reminder of how dangerous our jobs are and why situational awareness is just so important. And it's a matter of life and death at times. We held hands while we were cutting the rebar, and unfortunately he passed away shortly after in the ambulance up the hill from Northwood Pulp here in Prince George. And so I can't say enough about how important it is for mentors and mentees to really stress the safety protocol. And, you can talk about it.
Yeah.
Here I am, I'm 17 years old. I'm like most men, I'm young guys. It's like I'm Superman, I'm invincible. You can go out and walk across that beam and it's like a challenge because you don't realize the situation that actually what happens is one slip and it's a fatality. So I think the situational awareness would be the career development to express that as a mentor.
That's actually a good point. Situational awareness, you can't fully explain that just in a book, and I think like you telling this story, it kind of paints the picture to me of like the kinds of stories a mentor can share with our building builders mentees. Like that is huge. These mentees should be I'm sure some of them that are in the house right now are kind of thinking of the kinds of questions they could be asking their mentors and experiences they could ask them to share. Thank you for that, Crystal.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that story with us here. I really appreciate that, and your insight is very valuable. Thank you, Cal. I'd like to let Court introduce yourself, and I'll ask you the same question that I had asked Cal. How did you begin your career in construction? What inspired you to choose this industry? Did you have a mentor that might have supported you along the way? And where are you located?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for having me on. So my name's Court Forsyth. I live in Kamloops, BC. I've lived around mostly here in the interior, a bit across Canada and whatnot, but this is where I call home right now for the past, 15 years. I work for Acres Enterprises as the business development manager, which deal with a lot of front end pre-construction, help build relationships, front end of projects, clients, really help bring kind of concept to strategy, kind of contract, what can we do with delivery methods to then kind of stepping away and let our execution go ahead and build the project. My background to get me to that stage came from more of at first it was a labor position, but then into project management that kind of put me up front, first facing with clients now in business development. First starting in the industry, bit of a different role than I do have today. I came from a family where my dad was a bricklayer, and so he'd do residential, what he would call in the off seasons, and then he was a union bricklayer in the spring and falls for the pulp mill shutdowns. So kind of feeding on a bit of Cal's experience there, a little bit different, but definitely kind of transition to there. So I started 12 on the residential side. Again, my sister and I, assuming we didn't have a babysitter, so we went with my dad to work. And that's what we did for our summers while our friends were out playing on the beach or doing whatever they were doing. We were learning the little aspect of construction. I think really what took off there for me is one early mentor. I did want to be like my dad, look up to him, still do. And I think he realized that I was able to pack bricks, could start to run the mixer, learn little aspects of the trade and the safety application to go there. And that kind of took me off into that journey. Soon, kind of later stages of high school, realized that I was able to join the Bricklayers Union, local number 2. And that's where I got introduced to different projects, some commercial projects in the Kelowna area, and then through the pulp mill route, through to Prince George, Kitimat, Nanaimo, kind of all through, mostly in BC. What that opened my eyes up to was that I actually didn't want to be a bricklayer. There's a lot of older individuals there, and hats off. You got to imagine being that 16 to 18 years old, and I felt like I worked hard. And to date, those guys that I worked, actually men and women that I worked alongside, they were still some of the hardest working people I can reference and kind of look up to that. What that opened my eyes up to is getting an education in trades. And first it was I want to go get an education so I can run my own construction company. I utilized a background in sports from a young age. I want to say, 4, 5, 6, I was through hockey. I was fortunate to play junior hockey across Canada. And then that put me in a position to go to college, both playing for the school team and also getting a great education in construction management. So that's where I came out with education in construction engineering technology that really set me up to come out with, a route of being a project coordinator or kind of an estimator, but just a real good education piece that related with some experience that I had gathered up to that time. I felt really launched my career as a project coordinator. A fun story I had is at the time I was going to school in Edmonton. I wanted to be relocated back to BC, Kamloops, so I did that. I got a job in Kamloops. The first job I was on was in Fort McMurray. So at that time in mind, there's that work-life balance. It made sense for me to travel with work, be more hands-on. We had a large project site where at the time it was a project for ConocoPhillips called Surmont 2, just south of Fort McMurray, which the group I was working for, mixing a little bit of innovation. We were a modular group that was building a 3,300 man or 303 person camp for the construction of that project. So really hands-on, a lot of aspects, create a big network for myself. So utilizing the hockey teams I've been on to the network, just really, I guess, initiated that opportunity for me to have lots of different network career path. And then from there, traveled through, working my way project coordinator, project manager, senior project manager, right through till to date, where now I'm business development manager. Speak about the mentors. I did indicate, my father being a mentor of mine, early stages, being on the trades. I think there's kind of two aspects on the trades. Just having that person, even when you're on the site, we're talking 12 years old, looking out for you. Don't put your hands in certain places. Be aware of things. You talk about situational awareness. Where I like to kind of add to that situational awareness too is that mentor realizing what the mentee, where they are in their situation, and vice versa, so that you can kind of really get that communication on where they're at to get to that full spectrum of the confidence, competent, and down that road. Where the mentors, I would say, is I feel like I've had a lot, good and bad ones. I always learned something, like through different coaches I've had, through different professors or teachers I've had, high school or college. And then here later in my career, these past 15 years in the leadership and management role, I feel like I've been very fortunate coming in, having call a little bit of gray hair on our team, where I've been able to leverage individuals that were in industry for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And kind of where I'd give my advice is just be a sponge, listen, ask those questions. Typically, like, people want to help. And if you're being eager and you're showing that willingness to learn and that hard work, people want to help you. So I think that kind of,
Awesome.
hopefully that kind of helps introduce a bit of who I am, a bit of my background.
Yeah, and you also answered very well the kind of follow-up question of like, what's the kind of thing you can learn from a mentor that you can't just learn from anywhere? Even just you describing your pathway. A lot of mentees come to our program who are in the trades and they're starting to feel like, I think I need to kind of steer my learning experience on the job to set me up for life after the trades and the next phase in my career, but they don't know what those positions are. And a lot of mentors like you, Court, are helping them understand the hierarchy of positions in the industry and some of the niche positions they've never heard of.
Yeah, and being open up, and that's what I love about construction, is that there's so many. And you talk about, just mine was more bricklayer. Yes, I dabbled in some carpentry. I knew enough about plumbing and electrical that I didn't want to do it. We have subject matter experts like Cal, but you just you kind of you learn enough to be dangerous is one. And I would say one of the key things we can learn from a mentor, that there's no book, and it to me, if I had to call it something, I'd call it lessons learned. Those lessons learned that you know I don't a 5 year, 10 year, 15 year, they are so valuable, like that education that that individual had. And if you can just share your challenges or some of the problems or some of the things that are maybe bugging if you want to call it that, to a mentor that's been around, they're going to help give advice on potentially shedding a light on what's maybe triggering that, or maybe just some things to kind of ignite your brain to kind of look at this bigger picture, or even just ways they dealt with it. Sometimes the way they dealt with it incorrectly are really good, and sometimes what they found successful. I always like to say sometimes they wore a shirt they put away in a closet and they're never bringing it out, but they'll talk about it. So
So yeah, that's a good way to put it. Thanks for that. We'll get back to you with our group questions and Crystal.
Great. Yeah, thank you. I think you're like to introduce Ramon and ask the same question, Ramon. How did you begin your career in construction? What inspired you to choose this industry? Did you have a mentor who supported you at any point along the way? And where are you joining us from today?
Sounds good. My name's Ramon. I'm a project manager with Turner Construction. We do commercial construction in the Lower Mainland in Vancouver. A bit of a newer business unit from 2009, but in the States, it's a really old construction company. It started in 1904 with the invention of reinforced concrete in New York. So it has a lot of history. I've been lucky enough to grow my career in turn construction over the last 10 years. And when I started, I honestly, I didn't even know what an RFI was in construction, but there was something that really called out to me about getting into this field, this industry. And I mean, it's legacy building, even if it's a little project. I'm always so proud and drive by, and my wife gets so sick of telling me or reminding me, yeah, you already told me that you built that office fit out inside that downtown building. And she's never seen it, but she knows where it is, because every time we drive by, I'm like, oh, there's some memories there of when I was a first year coordinator, trying to figure it out. My background, I was born in Mexico and my dad was a mining engineer. So we moved around everywhere, all over North Mexico. We ended up in the States for a while, moved back to Mexico before landing here in Vancouver. And he did it from a mining perspective, and we were chasing the industry. He he was my first mentor, and he always told me, chase knowledge, chase your education. And he showed me that he put that first before anything. And when you're a kid, you don't understand it. You're like, well, I want this shiny new thing. I want this vacation. And he always told me, no, we're gonna actually go work at the mine and take an extra shift doing surveying of stockpiles. And I remember I was in grade 4 with a GPS backpack on. Just there's stockpiles. They're just mounds of dirt, and we're walking around it to try and get the volume of it. But it was cool. It was cool to see a mining operation. It was cool to do it. None of my friends did it. And it kind of put something in me that I wanted to grow in his footsteps. Now, I guess I always knew that I was going to be an engineer. I was good at math. And when you're in Mexico, there's not, I mean, in private school in Mexico, they're like, you're going to be a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer. So you're good at math, you're an engineer. And that was in my head for forever. But at UBC, I did my undergraduate at UBC. First year was general engineering, and I did not know what kind of engineering I wanted to be. I think I had a feeling that I wanted to do something with my hand, like not with my hands, um, like Colin Cord, who actually built things. I'm more of a nerd, sending emails, planning things, but construction's for everybody. So if if you hear that throughout my message is that you can do it, you don't even if you don't think this industry is for you, but there's an interest, you're here, there's an interest, there's something calling out to you. Um, and like I said, it's legacy building, and you can be part of that legacy, no matter your background, who you are. Sorry, this was a little aside, but
Oh, love
um,
it.
yeah, I was between mining, civil, geotechnical. I love seeing what I'm building, seeing what I'm part of. Electrical engineering. I was like, oh, I can't really wrap my head around um, circuits and all that stuff. And so we landed in civil engineering. I wanted to be different from my dad. I tried mining up in the oil sands in Fort McMurray through a co-op program. And Tech Coal. I tried it twice at Tech Coal in BC, Fernie, BC. Amazing opportunities. You get to see some of the biggest mining sites in the world up in the oil sands. Seeing those huge haul trucks just whiz past you, it's daunting, and safety is paramount. I'm really glad I had that experience because you hear the outcomes, I guess, of failure to plan for your fellow coworker, for your fellow employee. And like Cal mentioned, those stories are powerful, they're impactful, they shape who you are. That is something that you can't learn from a book, from a newsletter, from anything. You have to see the human impact of what those stories have in store for us. We're working with really dangerous stuff. Like even if it's not, falling from heights, something that gets overlooked daily on the job site, it could be just chemicals that are insidious in your lungs. And, if you don't have the right mentor, the right person looking out for you, 20 years of breathing these fumes, which you think, oh, that can't be that bad for me, silica dust in the air, it's going to take a toll on you. Um, something that I have learned about myself. I thought I was a huge introvert, but the construction industry has shown me that I really do care about people, and it doesn't matter if I'm an introvert or not. I can always look out for my fellow coworker, my fellow worker on site. Um, yeah, I think I'm just rambling. So I
Oh, good
what
answers. And then, but so how did you land into, I believe, coordination and then project management? Because your day-to-day isn't necessarily working as a PN, right?
It is not. It is more planning the job site, making sure that the job site is prepared for the worker, that I'm communicating that information out to the people that need it to build. I'm trying to get out of the way. I'm trying to get out of the way of our workers. I'm trying to be humble when I talk to the people on site. That's that's I think the main thing is being humble and trusting people's experiences. Nobody is out to get you. They're just trying to get the job done the best way they know how. And through open communication, you can really find out what that means for your project. I ended up here. There was an opportunity that my friend gave me an interview, and like I said, I didn't know what an RFI was, but I took the challenge. I love making myself feel uncomfortable in challenging ways, and construction was that thing in the back of my head that I want to get there. I want to be on the job site. I want to see what it takes to get something done. So I took the chance. I got lucky enough that my interview, somebody saw something in me, and I started in the field as a project coordinator, and I knew nothing. I didn't know what a corner bead was in drywall. I didn't know the sequence of anything. I didn't know anything about mechanical systems, electrical systems. They don't teach you that at school. They don't teach, and even if they do, there's books. I'm telling you the truth, I'm not going to read it. The way that I learn is from talking to people and getting their experiences. And people want to show you. They want to teach you. They want to build you up, really. Yeah, there's not a lot of people that I meet on site that just want me to get out of the way and push me aside and get to what they're doing. Everybody's trying to tell you, explain to you, they're proud. Everybody who works on my job site is proud of what they do. And I learned to recognize that very early on in my career and and use that, and even if there's no real mentors that I can recognize, I treat everybody as a potential mentor. And just being curious and humble is going to get you a long way.
Thanks for that. And just a note to everybody, Ramon is both a mentor and a mentee in our program, which I think is cool because we've had a lot of mentors kind of mention that they have mentors and their mentors have mentors. And so that's why we kind of describe mentorship as the cornerstone in the construction industry. Mentorship doesn't end at the conclusion of your participation in our Building Builders program. Construction is about relationship building and shared knowledge, and I love hearing about mentors like Cal, who've been in the industry for decades, will still have moments of mentorship from other people, their peers around them. Okay, so I'm just going to take a moment to remind everybody why we're here, which is Construction Month, BCCA's Construction Month. The theme is resilience. And so I'm just going to read a statement from our Construction Month website. BC's construction industry thrives thanks to the dedication and resilience of over 28,000 contractors and 167,000 tradespeople, supported by a diverse network of professionals. Their collective efforts sustain communities across the province, demonstrating adaptability and perseverance in an ever-changing industry. For the 8th year, it's time to recognize and appreciate these unsung workers who shape and maintain BC's built environment. So, in the spirit of the theme of Construction Month, we have a couple of questions for our mentors, and I told Ramon that we would pick on him to start off the first group question. So we're going to ask, we have a couple questions that we're going to ask, and we're going to open up to the mentors to feel free to discuss and add on to each other's points if it feels right. So in the name of innovation, Ramon, how can industry professionals challenge traditional ways of doing things and embrace innovation without compromising efficiency and safety? For example, emerging technologies, employee satisfaction, upskilling, training practices. And I'm just going to mention, I'm picking on Ramon because I know he's personally helped a mentee adopt some technology practices to help them level up their role with their employer. Go for it, Ramon. What do you have to say about innovation?
Thank you very much. Well, innovation is a big word. I took a description just to put it out there, but innovation is the process of bringing new ideas, methods, services that have a significant positive positive impact and value. It involves transforming concepts into tangible outcomes. So that part right there is a big learning for me. I used to love to daydream. Oh, this could be better. This could be this way. This could be that way. And you know, at first that really drove me until I learned it takes a lot of work to put a new process in place, especially with a company that's big, company that's old, somebody that's just not willing to try something new for a bunch of different reasons. But it's taught me a lot of tenacity and a lot of like I mentioned, humbleness. Like, okay, that everybody's feedback is valid. You might not have that point of view. My journey in innovation in my company, I was selected to form part of this group that involves really trying out AI. just what can we do with artificial intelligence? And they gave me a ChatGPT subscription and kind of just let me go at it. And we've been involved in a lot of talks and a lot of how best we could use it. And I'm finding that my productivity has increased 10 times fold. Now, there's a lot of different ways to use AI that I've seen a lot of different kind of views on it, and sometimes it can be a scary concept. But the way that I personally use AI is not to think for me, but it is to help turn my thoughts into actions, or to help me get out of my own point of view, which coincidentally is what a mentor does as well. It gets you out of your point of view. So I would say AI doesn't really replace anything, but it really adds to it. Um, what I asked
Awesome.
my mentee to do really was to use AI in a way to brainstorm through a process, because that's how I use it. I'm going to be honest with you. Sometimes I have really tough calls and I don't have time to really process them and get to the next meeting in time or write everything down. And one of the things that I've been doing is I've been transcribing my audio. Like I get done with the call, I turn this thing on, and I just really talk to it and tell them, hey, this is everything that went on with this call and where I'm at. It's allowed me to put that thing aside, that conversation aside. I know it's stored somewhere, and it's not just stored somewhere, it's stored somewhere smart that I can go back and ask for it. I can ask for feedback from this thing, and it's not always great, but it helps me. It helps me think of a new way that, oh, yeah, you shouldn't have stressed that point so many times. It didn't really add to the discussion. Or you can follow up with an email. You use this. So I'm trying to be fearless in trying out AI. I'm trying to be open and seeing how my outcomes come out with it. And the most important thing is I'm documenting what I learn so that others can take use of that. That's how
I think
I
that's so
kind of
cool.
manage innovation.
Awesome. I could say I was the advisor assigned to Ramon and his mentee, and his mentee shared a story that, based on the lessons that he learned from Ramon about using AI in just very simple ways, he impressed his employer by showing some improvements in areas that he was struggling in, taking meeting minutes and being responsible for staying on top of certain things that were uh, being discussed in team discussions and things like that. I thought it was just such a cool little success story. Thanks for that. Court and Cal, do you have any have you had any experiences where you've noticed some shifts in innovation, technology, or anything that's kind of shaping how things are going and moving forward in construction?
Well, I can give you one of the things I tell myself daily, my kids, my mentees, my coworkers, we learn something new every day, and when we realize it or not, big or small. And this is something I always challenge you, or I challenge everybody actually on this panel today. Ask yourself, what did I learn today? It might be the most smallest thing, but you don't realize it. We were working up in a remote area in northern Alberta, and we did the biggest grout pour in North America, and the epoxy grout pour, sorry. So we had 80,000 pounds of epoxy grout to pour in 3 weeks, and it took us. We had 5 great big pads. They were 55 by 26 pads, and they were anywhere from just about 4 inches to 3/4 of an inch of epoxy grout that had to be done. And we were supposed to use control joints made out of angle iron. And so it took us 2 weeks. And everybody goes, Cal, you're not going to make the schedule. I said, just give me, I just need, this is not going so well. Compressor bases are all like great big hammocks. We got to think out of the box here. So it was funny. I went for a walk, and I was like, Cal, all your years of experience, get your shit together, pardon my language. So I went for a walk around, and I was pretty stressed. We had 1 week left to finish 4 compressor pads. So I ended up with the carpenters. We talked about it, and I said, here, guys, let's use some lay flat hose, and we're going to use those as control joints. We're going to come up with this. We're going to pump this. We ended up completing the project in the 3 weeks. We worked 3 20-hour days and a 17-hour day to finish the epoxy pads. And the 20 volunteers that I handpicked, they were all bodybuilders. They said, Cal, I don't care if this is ever done in the world or not. We are not ever doing this again, because they didn't realize that every one of those 50-pound epoxy pound we had to mix by hand. So it was interesting working with the engineers. I said, you guys, you teach me theory, I'll teach you experience. And between the two of us, the innovation broke off, and now they are doing epoxy grout pours with a lay flat hose down in all over the southern United States to this day, which was really cool. And I
that's
said,
a great example. Sorry, that's a great
so
example.
it was really neat.
It's like I keep hearing from business owners and like 40-year professionals, 30-year professionals that they're like, we're constantly encountering things we've never experienced before, and yet they're responsible for designing a system or a solution just based on knowledge that they've accumulated over the years. And I don't think a lot of people realize that, like, that's why a lot of these project management positions, upper level positions, say we're looking for a minimum 15 years experience in the industry. It's because you don't often have the answers in front of you. Like Cal was just describing, you have to create them, design them, think of them on the spot. I'm sure you cross your fingers sometimes. Court, do you have anything to say on innovation?
Yeah, I think maybe I got lots to say on innovation. And I think one of the things I've been quite fortunate here in my recent journey here with Acres Enterprises is the call it the investment, both time commitment and even there's a money aspect as well that the organization here has put into innovation. An example being the ownership has realized that the industry is changing. And a quick example is a lot of investment went in, I would say probably about 5 to 7 years ago on drone usages for construction with respect to our, the first focus was our civil. So we have a civil department here of one of the 3 departments. And in that case, how that drone is used from a survey perspective on a daily, it flies over in 15 minutes. And I don't want to call it replaced, but it replaced the hours spent by the surveyor that took probably about 5 hours to do it. Now, that doesn't mean replacing a job, but what it allowed us to do is be more competitive in a situation. The cost for that surveyor was he's actually able to do, or she's able to do multiple sites in that day, which has brought up our availability as a company to service more individuals. So when I look at, and this came from an idea, somebody brought that in, I believe, to the audience and said, hey, you ever thought about this? And it wasn't just shut down. So I guess the point of the story there is if you have an opportunity and you're an organization, it's nice to have that if it's received well, like those ideas. Like I look back at this story when I mentioned I went to Fort McMurray. Well, I showed up there and we were spending hours and hours to get everybody on the roof. We were doing a camp. So the roof was about the size of a mall. And this was for the core facilities of this camp. And the only way to get up there was using a person lift to go up and lift them up there. The ladder was too high based on the safety regulations. It just wouldn't work. And I came in there about 3 months after the project had started. And all of a sudden I got like a little award because I said, well, why don't we just build a stair set up there with hand railings and everything? We're going to be going up there. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, this innovation idea. It was just like building a stairwell to get on a roof that we were going to take down after, but it saved thousands of dollars. So those ideas can come from everybody on the team, and every mentee or mentor just having that open ears and embracing what that innovation does. Like it's super powerful. And sometimes you just got to go through the process of you say it goes through a little bit of a, call it a think tank. Does it make sense? Does it not? Maybe you just park it, or maybe it gets implemented, but don't let it discourage you from bringing ideas forward. That's probably the worst thing that could ever happen.
Wow, well put. Awesome, thanks for that. For the sake of saving a little bit of time, I'm going to kind of combine question number 2 with our closing question that we had introduced in the beginning. So in the name of resilience and remaining resilient as workers in a very volatile and progressing industry, what skills and qualities are necessary to develop in order to stay resilient and contribute to the future success of the construction industry? So the kind of answer I'm looking for is, if a mentee is thinking like, what personal qualities and professional qualities should I be trying to develop? What kind of knowledge should I be seeking so that I can stay resilient and adaptable in the future of construction? Because we get a lot of mentees who think, oh, I need to learn electrical code, right? Or, oh, I should think about taking level 1 carpentry, but there's also like the soft skills or like the technical aspects, like AI, like Ramon was mentioning, or critical thinking, things like that. So I'm just putting it in the chat. But again, what skills and qualities should our mentees be thinking of developing in themselves? And this, any mentor who wants to chime in first?
Sure, I'll touch base on that a little bit if that's okay with Ramon and Court. I've always preached the importance of planning. Planning is essential for a successful project. And the example that I like to use is usually, or this is what I've found in my career, is about 60% of the job is planning, and that's risk management, location, market conditions, manpower, etc. Logistics of simple things like LOA. Then you've got 30% of the project is being completed, and the 10% is the handover package, and this includes QA, QC, maintenance manuals. So all along through that 100% of that project, there's specialty people that we need to make it all. And it's not say, oh, that's Cal Duncan, he did that. It wasn't Cal Duncan that did that. It was my family. It was my team. It was our team. It's individuals like yourselves that we're all working here. I would probably say with meeting Ramon and Court today, my experience would be heavily outplayed with boots on the ground experience, as with them as the pre-planning, the big 60% to make sure that project gets completed. Without, this is the first time we met, so my background is lots of years and bruises and cuts and bangs and 30 plus years of living in camps, building incredible things, as Ramona preached about. You know what, when you're putting your mark on the world, there's something that gets in your blood, and it's your fever, and it's like my passion. And it's we don't go to win a ball game to come second best. At least, Court touched on sports. I'm a big sports guy. I had a chance. I played international sports, European team handball against teams from the United States and Mexico. And you know what? Even though we're playing a game, it's a game that we want to make sure that we do our best, and because we're leaving that mark. And I always use that analogy with a lot of project managers, is that you're actually the general manager. Me as a superintendent or a foreman, I'm the coach, and everybody on our crew, that's our team. And our team, at the end of the day, we're here to bring home the major league awards or the Stanley Cup or whatever. And
Good way to put it.
I can't say that enough about resiliency. Nah, I can't even talk right now. But that team aspect, coming together, everybody's important. The guy in the ditch shoveling dirt, he's got to put a little bit of cash in his pocket. He's got to be successful. The project manager, the laborers, the foremen, the project managers, the QA, QC, the whole team, everybody, we're there to make some cash and make a better life for ourselves. But the project as a whole comes together, and we were all successful. That's when you have a successful project. So never cut yourself short, because everybody's position is so important.
You kind of answered two awesome qualities there, because you mentioned about planning, even just off the cuff, you naming just different components of planning. I feel like, oh wow, I'm going to watch this recording later and take some notes. That was great. and that, but also just teamwork, collaboration, that finesse with having to work together and honoring each person's position in the final piece. Awesome. We have about 2 minutes each for Court and Ramon to answer the question. Court, can you think of a few qualities that our mentees should be thinking of developing in themselves?
Yeah, I'll just listening, trying to add maybe a different angle. Maybe it wasn't what I was going to come up with right away, but I think just hearing Cal and maybe a different perspective is resilience, and especially with regards to a mentee coming in, it's okay to ask the questions. If you don't know, ask. And I see like things like, you're coming up against a timeline. I can tell you from my experience, and some of the worst experiences I've had was not asking when I first knew I had a problem. I use a bit of what I call a bit of a dinosaur theory that I heard from actually one of the mentors I had in college, and it was regarding a dinosaur. Like, and don't take this the wrong way, but when's the best time to kill a dinosaur? Squish it when it's an egg. The second best time is when it's just hatched, it's small. Don't wait for it to be T-Rex, because then we really got a problem. And we're getting the help early on.
Oh,
So
true.
timeline, if you can ask the question, like, I don't know, I'm having struggles, or if you made a mistake, bring it forward earlier. Like, you're going to find that you're typically working, or they've already made that mistake and they know how to correct it. Just how hard it is to ask and let your pride out a little bit. It's going to lead you towards a bit more trust with your team later on, and avoid that stress, disruption, everything. Like, get rid of that heartache early on and ask for help. I guess if I could talk about resilient, I think that would be one little secret I've learned over the time, and as simple as it seems, but that leads to safety, timelines, innovation, just simply spending a day working on something you don't know. You're sitting there looking at your computer screen, and you're sitting there with nails and whatever, a tool, you don't even know how to turn it on. Like, just ask. So if I can leave you with that in my little 2 minutes.
Oh,
Well
that was
said.
awesome. These are some nuggets to last us a lifetime. That was great. And Ramon, what are you thinking?
Sure thing. I think what I'm thinking is to have resiliency, you have to develop your personal perseverance. And that's something that I learned through this program. I actually didn't know I could be a mentor. I was looking for a mentee, and the group challenged me and said, you can do it. Be a mentor. And I took the chance, and I learned that I couldn't help somebody else without going through everything I had gone through. Sometimes it's really hard to forget. And it's really hard to forget in the moment when the pain is fresh, and construction is not always easy. For me, I'm learning to be my own cheerleader. I'm learning to celebrate my own wins, my own team's wins. I don't need permission from the boss to do that. And there has to be a positive to this. We're the only ones going home with ourselves. So make sure you're true to yourself, and celebrate big when you can, and in ways that are vulnerable, and add trust with your team, because your team is the one that's going to have your back and help you move forward. That's kind of how I develop my personal perseverance here.
I'm so good. Wow, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this recording. I'm going to be taking some notes. We have a question. It's funny. Kim, who's in the house, who is one of our all-star mentors. I think you just raised your hand. I'm not sure if you want to say something, but I was actually going to see if you wanted to hop on and also answer that question. Are you here? And did you want to say something?
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I just rolled over my dog's tail. But no, I raised my hand by accident. Thank you to Cal, Court, and Ramon. I am a true believer that you always learn. And I think it was Court who mentioned it at first, that you always learn something from somebody. And that was a challenge that one of my first mentors gave me when I joined the industry was, hey, when I started to get into meetings with all these executives and stuff, and my mentor's notes were observe them and observe if there's a quality about them that you really enjoy and emulate that, and if there's something about them that you really dislike, so that you make sure that you don't do it yourself. So I'm glad to know that all of the talks. Everything is so similar across every company within this beautiful industry. So thank you all for your
Thanks
time.
for that. Thanks for that. Such a great point. Awesome. We are just inside of everybody's lunch hour and we want to honor everybody's time. And so, Crystal, did you have any closing remarks?
I really do appreciate everyone's time here today, hearing about the family that we were born with, that we build in the industry, that's building a strong foundation for trust and reliability and resilience. And I do really appreciate all of your comments. I will be sure to send around the recording as well as a summary after the event in the next less than 1 week. So expect that. But yeah, I really appreciate your time here today. Thank you.
Thanks for having
Thank
us.
you.
Yeah, thank you for
And
having us.
And I think we'll do a little media boost of this recording later because National Safety Month is coming up, and there was some incredible safety talk going on in this discussion. So we'll make sure that all of our mentees have exposure to this, to the link to this recording. And yeah, I just want to thank everybody for your time. And oh, sorry, it just froze for a second. Just wanted to thank everybody for your time. Enjoy your lunch break, and we will see you at the next recording.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.